All right, let's talk about something we all lean on: frozen food. I mean, on a busy night, what's easier than just grabbing a meal from the freezer? But today, we're going to look past that convenience factor. We're going to really unpack what might be lurking behind that frosty door. And this quote, it just nails it, right? It's such a simple idea, but it's powerful. The very thing we're buying to make our lives easier might actually be costing us in ways we don't even realize. That's the trade-off we're going to dig into. It's a fantastic question. And the answers? Well, they're not so simple. They touch on everything from our personal health all the way to the health of the entire planet. So let's go ahead and swing that freezer door open and see what we find.
Okay, so first up, let's get into those hidden downsides. Turns out the journey from the farm to your freezer isn't always a straight line. And along the way, it can kind of change the very nature of the food we're eating.
You know, you might think freezing just locks in all the good stuff. And yeah, it definitely slows down nutrient loss, but, and this is a big but, it doesn't stop it. That process of blanching veggies before they're frozen, plus just sitting in storage for a long time, it can cause a real dip in important stuff like vitamin C and B. Now, this brings us to a really crucial term: ultra-processed foods. So many of those ready-made frozen meals, they fall right into this category. We're not just talking about food that's been slightly modified. We're talking about industrial formulas. They're designed for super long shelf life and crazy intense flavor, usually with ingredients you would never ever find in your own kitchen. And as we're about to see, that has some major health implications. All right, let's move away from the concepts and get into some cold, hard numbers. This is where you can really see the tangible impact that a diet heavy in these convenient meals can have on us. Okay, take sodium. You see that number? Over 900 milligrams. That's what you can find in just one serving of a frozen lasagna. I mean, think about that for a second. That is a massive chunk of your entire recommended daily intake, all packed into one meal. And it's not just the salt. Look at this, 1,200. That's roughly the calories in a single, seemingly innocent chicken pot pie. It's just incredibly dense with calories, mostly coming from refined carbs and not so great fats. So what's the big picture here? Well, the data is pretty stark. Studies are showing that just a 10% increase in your diet from these ultra-processed foods is linked to a 12% higher risk of type 2 diabetes. And check this out, a 17% higher risk of cardiovascular disease. I mean, these are serious, measurable impacts on our long-term health. So how do they do it? How do they get that flavor and shelf life to be so consistent? Well, with a whole bunch of additives. You'll see things like BHA, BHG, and MSG on the label all the time. And while they do preserve the food, eating them regularly has been linked to issues like inflammation and even allergic reactions. And here's a risk a lot of us just forget about: food safety. See, freezing doesn't actually kill all the bacteria. It just kind of puts them to sleep. So if you thaw your food the wrong way, like leaving it on the counter for hours, you're basically rolling out the welcome mat for nasty stuff like salmonella or E. coli to wake up and start multiplying. But the story doesn't just stop with our own health. The whole frozen food industry has this huge ripple effect that goes way beyond us, touching the environment and even how we think about food itself. Just try to picture the journey of a single frozen meal. There's the massive amount of energy to flash freeze it, the fuel for the refrigerated trucks to haul it across the country, the electricity to run the freezers at the store, and then, finally, your own freezer at home. That is a huge energy footprint. And that's not even mentioning all the packaging, all that single-use plastic that just ends up in a landfill somewhere. And beyond the physical stuff, there's this other kind of psychological impact. When we lean too heavily on these instant meals, we can start to lose basic life skills, like knowing how to cook a simple meal from scratch. It really encourages mindless eating, just, heat it and eat it, instead of actually engaging with our food, which can lead to worse habits overall. Okay, I know. After hearing all of that, you might be ready to just unplug your freezer and be done with it. But hang on. It's not all doom and gloom. The real key isn't to ditch the freezer altogether, but to learn how to use it wisely. Let's look at how to make some smarter choices. And this is the most important distinction to make. Not all frozen food is ultra-processed. Things like flash-frozen fruits and vegetables or simple lean proteins like frozen fish fillets, they can actually hold on to their nutrients really well, sometimes even better than the fresh stuff that's been sitting on a truck for a week. So really, this all boils down to a pretty simple cheat sheet for when you're in that freezer aisle. On one side, you've got your red flags, long, complicated ingredient lists, added sugars, crazy high sodium. But on the other side, you've got the green lights, simple, recognizable ingredients you can actually pronounce. It's the difference between a bag of plain frozen broccoli and a bag of broccoli in some cheese sauce that has 20 other things in it. So here's how you can actually put this into action. 3 super simple steps. First, become a label detective. I mean, really read the nutrition facts and the ingredient list. Second, try to prioritize whole, single ingredient foods like a bag of frozen berries or plain chicken breasts. And third, just remember balance. Use frozen foods for what they're good for, convenience, not as a total substitute for fresh, home-cooked meals. At the end of the day, it all comes down to this single question. Your freezer can be an amazing tool, one that helps with convenience and even nutrition. Or it can be a health trap, just filled with unhealthy, ultra-processed stuff. By making conscious choices, you're the one who gets to decide. The choice is yours.